Eric Darling here with Darling Data, and I think this will probably be my last video of the day because what I have discovered is the natural light that comes in through my window has a profound effect on the effectiveness of the green screen behind me. Contrary to popular belief, I do not live in SQL Server Management Studio land. I live in my office. And I just have SQL Server Management Studio as a backdrop for everything. But no, there's a green screen behind me, and the later in the day it gets, the more distortion there is when I move around a little bit. And I don't want you to have a bad watching experience on account of it being later in the day. So we're going to make this the last one, and we're going to talk about using SP_human events to track queries that are recompiling on your server. Are query recompilations the biggest deal in the world? Maybe not exactly, but what I'll tell you here is that if your query is humming along, reusing an execution plan, and everything is doing great, and then something happens. You swear to me nothing has changed, but something has happened. And all of a sudden, your query starts using a poor execution plan. Well, guess what? You might want to know why it recompiled. Because what you're going to do is you're going to send me an email, or you're going to ask a question on Stack Exchange or Stack Space Overflow. You're going to say, hey, nothing changed, but all of a sudden, this query got slow. And everyone's going to say, well, something changed because you stopped using a query plan. It didn't, and the recompilation could be a lot of things, right? Like a plan could get evicted from the plan cache because of memory pressure or something like that. Someone could clear out the plan cache. There's a lot of reasons why you might find things happen, but those things would fall under query compilations. Recompilations, probably the most common reasons you'll see would be from this list. Schema changing, statistics changing, automatic statistics updates, or manual statistics updates during the course of your high volume, your 4 batch requests a second volume workload. Temp tables changing. This doesn't mean that like the definition of your temp tables change. What it means is that you have hit a threshold and modifications to the cached temp table that have caused SQL Server to recompile, which is an interesting one. And then, of course, the ever-present option recompile requested, which, because I'm a bit of a lazy bones, is what I have asked queries to do, is request an option recompile via the option recompile hint. And that's what I'm going to show you over in the extended event data. There are a lot of other reasons why you might see a recompile happen, depending on local factors, and the way that you use SQL Server, or the way that the vendor has written queries to use SQL Server. Query store stuff, obviously, that's, there's a few query store things in here. Not a recompile is a funny one. But anyway, there are a lot of things in here that you might see, but, these are the most common, I think, that I see. Probably statistics changed, temp table changed, option recompile. There are not a lot of people who are adding and dropping indexes or columns or other things like that in the middle of the day, so maybe this one is not as common as I think. But anyway, this query setup will look pretty close to the query setup that I used for the compilations event that we looked at in the last video, except this one is properly written dynamic SQL. It is parameterized. Here we have used SP execute SQL to pass a parameter value in on each execution, but in this case we have asked SQL Server quite nicely to recompile this query every single time it shows up. And what we will see in the extended event that that SP Human Events has so graciously set up for us is this data. We see the name of the event, very helpful, thank you, extended events. We see when it happened, already dating this video. We see the statement, and now since there's an option recompile on here, it's going to be fairly obvious what happened, but in other cases, maybe where there's not an option recompile, either at the statement level or at the store procedure level, it might not be so obvious. And then we will have the recompile cause over here, option recompile requested. So we've gotten a wealth of useful data out of this. How we go about addressing the recompilation stuff kind of depends on the situation. There might be some queries where the option recompile is a good idea. Might be some queries where it's not and you can get rid of it. If the recompile cause is something that is not the fault of the query, something like schema changed or statistics changed, you might look at looking at what processes are changing tables in the middle of a workload. I imagine there might be some blocking involved. Or sorry, tables are indexes, columns, indexes, something like that. That might cause some significant blocking depending on other local factors. The statistics update thing, we might look at choosing to manually update statistics at some other interval if it's causing a problem. We might look at, if the temp table is changing, we might look at the keep plan or keep fixed plan query hint. And if it's option recompile, we would just have to figure out if the recompile is a necessary hint for the query in order for it to run well. A lot of the times you'll see the option recompile hint perhaps on reporting queries where you don't care, but if the option recompile hint is attached to a query just to fix parameter sniffing, like you decided you like to be like the one person who doesn't use the local variable thing incorrectly to fix parameters, and like fix parameter sniffing, local variable, do this to fix again, babies. Then that might be another way around it. There are lots of things in here. If you run into one of the weirder ones, like for browse or set options changing or cursor options changing, you've got a really strange set of problems that you have to deal with. Because, boy, oh boy, don't envy that. Anyway, before this green screen artifacting gets any worse, I'm going to end this video. Say thank you for watching. Remind you to download and use SP Human Events if you run into any problems, have any questions, want features added, subtracted, multiplied, divided, please use the GitHub repo that it will be linked in the video description to do that. And otherwise, I will see you tomorrow to talk about weight statistics that you can capture with SP Human Events. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I hope if you're able to, if you have the constitution and the will, and the means, that you're able to start drinking like I'm about to do. So, if not, I don't know, have a cup of tea, eat a cookie, whatever you're into. Make sure it's healthy and you have the consent of those around you. Consent and support of those around you. Anyway, have a good night.